I wanted to show you this Magma Enchanter build, and I think it's probably the most reliable build in Stage 3, and it's also one of the best builds in PvP Arena. I can win most of these encounters without any consumables, and I'll show you how to build towards this team, what that might look like, and some PvP Arena games as well. So the first two Illuvials we want to be aware of, and what this team is built around, is the two enchanters. You can do this with one enchanter, just the Kukraf. It's a tier 1, so it's a lot easier to obtain, whereas the Gazetep is tier 3, so a little bit harder to obtain, and you need to be stage 3 to have access to enchanter. So you won't get enchanter until stage 3. The Kukraf, you get it at stage 2. Kukraf's going to be CCing a target and it will make the team focus on them, whereas the Gazetep is going to be charming the furthest enemies, and both of them are going to proc enchanter every time they omega, and that's going to give the whole team a shield, which is huge, and it's also going to do pure damage to any other Illuvials within the vicinity of that shield. So you'll see on the damage chart, the enchanter would end up doing a lot of damage, and our ranger will also be enchanter. So if we put the Apon down and give our ranger the fire cuff, bond to the Apon, that's going to give us our third enchanter, as well as magma. We're going to get our second and third magma from Scoriox and the Singe. You just need the stage 2 Singe to get magma there, and Scoriox is going to be our main damage dealer. Now these are both tier 4, so if you don't have these, you can just use any other carry, and I'll show you afterwards some carries I recommend. This is just the complete build with magma. And if you don't have magma, then we can just bond our ranger to the Kukraf and make this an air cuff, and that'll give us Tempest instead of magma. For this scenario, magma is going to be a lot better once we can get it. The third composite after enchanter and magma is going to be mystic. We've already got our Apon down for mystic. You only need the stage 2. You will need at least this geyser, which is a tier 4, and it has to be stage 3 to get mystic. So again, this is a bit more towards endgame, similar to the Scoriox and the Singe. So if you don't have this, just use another tank or any other Illuvial that you're trying to level. So early on, we're probably going to duplicate the Kukrafs, the stage 2 Kukrafs. I think it's called the Kukulus. So you'll have multiple in your team that will all proc enchanter, and you'll be able to level them at the same time. The last two Illuvials are just two cheap tanks. The Airdrop will give us the 3 air, and this is just to diversify hyper. And the Atlas is quite a good Illuvial anyway. Positioning wise, we want to put ourselves in a bit of a ball, because this maximizes magma. We've already explained what enchanter does. Magma puts a pool of magma that spreads out underneath the magma units, and everyone, all allies within that magma, are going to get grit and resolve. Grit and resolve give you a reduced, like a flat reduced damage, whereas something like Bulwark is giving you a % reduced damage, which is resistance. So allies will get the grit and resolve, so they'll make it more tanky, and enemies within the magma are going to take energy damage per second as well. So quite a good composite, and Magma Enchanter has been one of the best meta builds in a lot of the PvP patches so far, and still is. Tanks at the front line. We're going to have our Scoriox in range of the Apon, because Apon gives a damage buff and it'll stun anything that comes within the vicinity of the Scoriox. And our Ranger going to keep safe as well, and we'll maximize magma there. We know there's a rogue coming in, so we're just going to put one of the tanks at the back. And this is generally what you'll do. It's not absolutely perfect, but we're not going to be too fussy there. We'll just start this up and see how we go without any consumables. If you want to guarantee the win, use the gumbo drops on the Scoriox and the Floraball on at least your Singe. So that's tanky stats and attack damage, attack speed. These are going to be pretty crucial to winning stage 3 encounters, especially before you get a team that's complete like this. So we'll start that up and see how we go. And if we look at the damage charts, so you can see the Apon just buffed the Scoriox's damage there. Yeah, most of our fire Illuvials have gone hyper, so this should turn out to be pretty easy. You can see the shields that are stacking. So we're all still super healthy, still got a lot of shields. And you can see the white damage there from the Ranger and the Gazetep, as well as the Kukraf. That's all pure damage, so you can see Enchanter doing a lot of damage there. Not to mention the amount of shields it was doing. I'll just show you one more fight. So this time I'm going to place myself right where one of the rogues is going to land, and that way my team should stay around this vicinity and my carries will be well protected. It'll stop my team from spreading out, so we'll maximize the magma and enchanter. Geyser you can use as a tank a lot of the time in the back line. He's got a lot of tank stats. Ranger bonded to the Apon. Remember, magma is going to be pouring out of the Ranger, so put him in a good spot. Just put one tank there. Keep your Kukraf fairly safe, because you still want to have him proccing enchanter the whole game. And we'll start that off again, no consumables, and we should be able to see how easily we win without consumables. I probably lose maybe 1 in 10, maybe 1 in 20 without consumables with this build. But obviously a lot of the time you can use at least a couple of consumables to guarantee the win. But I'm just showing you how good this build is, even without the consumables. You can see how much damage Scoriox already does without the consumable on him. And the Ranger, just with Enchanter, is doing the second most damage. So real quick before we jump into the PvP arena, I'll just show you how this team might look at the start of the game. Probably not going to have the Scoriox, the Singe, or the Geyser, or the Gazetep that early on. We're going to be trying to evolve to the Kukaraf, so you'll catch a lot of Kukas fairly quickly. You should either evolve or fuse or catch a Kukulus in the wild. So we're probably going to have at least one of them in. Ideally you would have 2 or 3 of them. They're all going to proc individual enchanter procs, and you're going to be gaining 3 times the experience to eventually fuse all these 3 into the Kukaraf. So it might look something like that, and then you might also have a Revo or a Rhoda building towards the Gyro, the stage 3 version of this, in your team, and they can be your AD carries. So maybe you have 2 Revos or the Rhodas, and then just a few other tanks. What I would do this early on is have the Apon still in the team, and once we get to Revo, you can see he has Dust, and what we can do is use the air cuff. So instead of the fire, we go air, bond that still to the Apon, which will give us Enchanter still between Empath and Scion, but instead of Magma, we'll get Dust. And Revo has Dust there, so Revo will be Omegaing around the map, causing Dust on everyone, which does a blind and reduces their Omega power. So that'd be really strong. And then once we have access to Magma, once you've eventually caught a Singe and a Scoriox, or a Scoriox, you can start using the Magma, and you can replace the Revo with those. Alright, so let's try this in PvP Arena. Remember, the build will be linked down below, so you can import that to the team builder, so you can so you don't have to create the build yourself. And if you appreciate that, make sure to like and subscribe. But we skipped round 1 just to see where the opponent is. But I'm going to put myself in the corner here. Round 1, you would just play, or I would suggest skipping. Round 2, we're going to get Magma by placing the Singed. Yeah, so we're just going to get Magma by placing the Singe, the bonding the Ranger to the Apon, and our Furiox won't quite be Magma just yet, so we'll have just the 2 Magma. That's round 2. And similar to Overworld, we're trying to keep ourselves in a ball. Our opponent's playing Berserker, so another strong build, which I'll cover in a later video. I have already covered a couple of builds, so I'll leave those linked down below. Attack speed and attack damage is going to be crucial. Reduce energy, I will go in Vuln, and Grit and Resolve. This can be quite good, but we can keep our enchanters away from being affected by that. My opponent agrees. If this is your first time seeing PvP Arena, you basically evolve your Illuvials by using these Ascend tokens, and you can only stock up on 3, and you'll get X amount per round, so you can evolve them for free, but using those Ascend tokens, so you don't use mastery points. So I'll evolve my Scoriox there, and I'm just going to get my other 2 Bulwarks out, so the Atlas and the Grocco. Now I do have to be wary of the Rogue they're using, but I know he's not that strong yet, and I'm happy for my Apon to tank it, and then eventually I'll get my Ebb down here, and that'll tank the Rogue. If they get too strong, I can reposition, but that's all I'm going to do now. There's one more Ascend token on my Apon to get him to Mystic. I will need to fully evolve the Ebb to the Geyser to get Mystic, so just be wary of that. It is quite hard to actually get all that way. You'll need a stockpile of, well, you'll need essentially I won't be able to get that next round because I'll only have 2 Ascend tokens. Now the other option here would be for me to have gotten Enchanter already, and maybe that would have been the better play that round. I decided to get the Bulwarks out, but playing the Kuka and evolving him to the Kukulus may have been the better move there. But you can see that front line, it's working out quite well anyway. So Kuka into Kukulus, and that'll give us the Enchanter. Like I said, you could have done that the round before. We're not going to bother going to stage 3 yet. We're going to focus on getting our way to Mystic. Mystic is going to be more important than getting the 3rd Enchanter down. This will come late game. Just because we need 2 Ascend tokens to get the Winx to stage 3 for Enchanter. He's not going to get Enchanter on stage 2. And the Mystic is going to be a little bit more important here. Just shuffle those around. The Gorilla might be on my Kukulus, but he's going to be pretty safe. He's probably not going to put any items on his Grilla. His Berserkers are his main carries. Okay, I may need to reposition this because I don't want my Kukulas getting targeted down. Good damage chart. This is... It's going to be very hard for him to deal with this until we get some items and a bit more late game, just because the amount of grit and resolve and tanky stats I get between Magma, Bulwark, and then the Enchanter shields, he's just going to get whittled down before he reaches that. Yeah, late game plus Mystic. He really needs Mystic himself. So this round I can get to Mystic and I can start working on the wings, going towards the Gazetep. And I can get that next round. What I'm going to do is just get a slightly tankier front line. I'll put that here. I assume he's going to keep his guys are there. So I'm just going to move those around and my Kukula should be a lot more safe. Because his Berserkers are going to wrap around here. We're going to win this round, but yeah, next round we would end up with 3 Enchanter. And that'll start hitting end game. And you just essentially start building out your frontline tanks and your Kukulas to your Kukurath. And I still haven't even placed these items down. And then if you have your Ranger weapons, start upgrading your Ranger as well. But it looks like we don't need to go there. And there you have it. That's how it goes in PvP, and that's how it usually goes. Because it is quite a strong build. I haven't been able to have a match against Behemoth. Behemoth seems to be the other best build at the moment, which I'll cover in my next video, so stay tuned for that. Make sure to like and subscribe. If you have any questions, definitely ask them below, and we'll see you next time.